G'day and welcome to episode 7 of our van build. First thing up for this evening is some of you may have noticed behind me over here the clamp piece of wood that I've got that's holding the top end of the door in to keep it sealed. That's because there seems to be a bit of an issue with these Iveco Dailies where the top lock breaks. We finally got a replacement for it. So this evening the first thing I'm going to do is put that in and see if I can get the door to seal properly. I really hope that I can. As you can see here, I've got water sitting there because the last time I put that clamp back on, I obviously didn't clamp it up quite tight enough. We had a bunch of rain during the night and water had come in through that top seal, come down the door, onto the floor, and some of it's run across the floor as well. So really hoping to get that sorted once and for all. And you can see here, now that I've taken the clamp off, just how bad this problem is. So there's the broken one. Here's what it should look like. You can see why it doesn't do its job. Alright, let's give it a try. Oh, that looks better. Don't know if it's all the way in, but it's definitely sitting further in than it was. It's not rattling around. It was able to flap around at the top before, which it's not doing now. And the gap is gone. I can't see any light through there now. There is another issue. Down the bottom here, there is actually light showing through at the bottom of the door. That's less of an issue. Obviously rain's not going to come up there unless you're driving through some pretty heavy rain, but dust will get in there, so I still need to sort that out. So this bottom arm of the door here has got some adjustment on it. It's actually adjusted a long way out, so that probably explains why there's a gap at the bottom. So I'm just going to adjust that and see if we can sort out that gap at the bottom too. Now, I don't think it needs a lot of adjustment. Ooh, that's probably plenty right there. Let's tighten it back up again and we'll try it. I think that's done it. Looks good to me. Alright, while I'm at it, I've just noticed a little bit of light here right where this top arm is as well. So we'll see if we can adjust that. Okay, pretty sure that's sorted. Before, when I pressed here, I could open up the gap, which I now can't do. Same thing up here. Can't open up a gap by pressing on the door, and down the bottom there's no gaps. While I'm working on kind of random things, I thought I might take a look at this glove compartment. The catch in it is broken, and so it just falls open. When you're driving along the road, you hit a bump and it falls open, and that's the problem there. So I think rather than try and get a replacement one, which I'm sure would cost me an arm and a leg, I'm going to just see if I can measure that up and design and 3D print a replacement catch.
Some time later.
So I've just done a quick design. The idea of this is that it will just slip on over the broken part of the catch. So first go, you'll probably need adjusting. So I've got it in the printer. And now I'll just tell it to print. Before I go to bed this evening, I should have a prototype print and be able to see whether it fits and what adjustments need making to it. Alright, let's see if this is going to work. This should slot on here. Okay, so it works. This is just a little bit too long. I need to shorten the tongue up a bit, but other than that, pretty good for a first effort. Quite happy with that. I've actually designed 2 catches for glove compartment handles because 2 of them are actually broken. I printed and tested this one already, and it works, although I've shortened it up a bit, changed the design slightly here so that this tip is not as high. The second one is this one here, which obviously is quite a different design. So I'm going to print the 2 of them together this evening and see how that all works out. Here they are arranged on the build plate. I've exported that to my USB, and now I'm going to go and print them both. It's quite cold out here in the garage tonight. Too cold for printing with resin if I was just to start the print, so I've actually had to warm the vat and the resin up inside in a cool oven, a 40-degree oven, just to get the temperature up a bit. The temperature of the vat and the resin's probably about 20 degrees or so now, much warmer than the ambient temperature in the garage. So now that I've done that, printer's underway, and I'll have a couple of prints which should be usable by the end of the evening. So the next big thing I need to do on the van, I think, is get the solar panels mounted. And so while I'm waiting for my 3D prints this evening, I'm going to start working on planning how the solar panels will mount. I've got ideas. I know how I want it to work. So this evening I'm going to try mocking it up and see whether it's going to work the way I'd like it to before I buy some of the more expensive parts I need to make that happen. This is the aluminium which will form the structure of the mount for the solar panels. Okay, here's the finished prints. So now they need to have a wash and go into isopropyl alcohol. Go on the wash machine, set it for 10 minutes, and there it goes. That'll just stir the alcohol and help to clean the parts. When that's finished, I'll blow them off, and then they need to be cured. So here's the cured parts. Just cut away the supports now. I used automatic supports in the slicer for this one. I normally don't like to use automatic supports, but I was being lazy. Would have been much easier to get the supports off if I'd done manual supports, because I can place them more logically. Okay, so I've remade this piece. So I'll take that one off. It's the new shorter one. Put that on. Let's see how it works. So I think you probably need to just cut away some of this so I can get it to fit on just a little bit further, and then I think it will work a little better. Alright, let's give this another try now. Should push on just a little bit further. Alright, I'm happy with that. Future link in here. At this point, as I was watching back this footage, I decided actually I wasn't that happy with how that glove compartment catch was working, so I've modified it again slightly, and I'm reprinting it in the engineering resin, which is a better choice anyway, and we'll be fitting that when it's done. So after test printing the second catch design that I made and comparing it to the original, seeing how it was going to fit on the original catch, I decided that I may as well actually design the catch and the handle all in one. Will save issues with how to bond the two together properly. So I've gone ahead and redesigned it, and this is what it now looks like. Part of the reason for that was on this other end here, there's a shape that catches a spring and retains a spring, so that when you pull the catch, when you let go, the catch returns back to the locked position. So I've gone ahead and designed that, and it pretty much mimics the original, except that the original had a design flaw where these pieces were quite weak and had broken off. Both sides had broken off. I've redesigned it, which I will show you later how it all works together, and will be stronger than the original was. So then I've exported that, brought it into the slicer. Okay, so here's the printed cat. Just pop it off the build plate, drop it on the floor. So here's the broken console. This is the original handle. These tags break off really easily. So here's the one that I've modelled and printed, and the way that I've changed it is I've made it so that it uses a 3mm stainless steel rod that passes through and keeps it in its housing. So there's a spring which sits in the end here. So now I'm going to see if I can get it fitted into the console. To make it fit, I've had to drill a bit of a hole down here to get the rod in, so it passes through the first hole. So it might be a little bit of a delicate operation to get it all into place, but let's see how it goes. Okay, it's all sitting in, and I think I just need to get the spring tensioned. I think a screwdriver might do the trick for that. Here we go. So now it should now work as intended. Let's go try fitting it to the van and see what happens. So here we go, the catch is in, and it does that, and now that compartment stays closed like it's supposed to. And this one, very pleased with that. It's only minor things, but they were quite annoying minor things, so it's nice to have those sorted out. Just thought I would briefly talk about the solar panels and my idea for their mounting. You might remember from the first video that I talked about having tilting solar panels, being able to tilt the panels to catch the sun more effectively. And that's still a possibility, although I'm of two minds about whether or not to do that. So if you've got thoughts about it as I discuss this, please pop them in the comments down below. I'd love to hear what others think, what your views are. To start with, mounting the panels, I have lengths of aluminium angle. You can see I've got one that's sitting clamped vertically like this, and that will be mounted to the roof of the van, obviously. And then I have another piece which currently is sitting horizontally. The idea being that it will actually sit on top of the other piece with a hinge, or hinges down the side that is tilting. I've got these stainless steel hinges which will mount down there, and that will allow the panels to tilt to one side. The panels will be wired in two pairs of panels wired in series, and then those two sets of panels wired in parallel. That gives me a higher voltage to work with off of each pair of panels, which means that they'll be able to charge the batteries in lower light conditions. It also enables me to have a smaller diameter cable than I would need if they were all in series. The other advantage to having two pairs in parallel is that shading is less of an issue. If one pair is shaded, the other pair are still able to perform at their full capacity. So you can see that I've got a couple of gaps set here in my mock-up, and that's where I would have the linear actuators that move the panels. So the plan is, if I go ahead with tilting panels, to have the linear actuator fixed, mounted on a bracket down in this corner, and then pivoting on the panels up in the center here, pushing the panels up. So let me know, what do you think? Is it worth the extra effort and time and expense to tilt the panels, or not? In my research, it would seem that it doesn't really make a huge difference. Not orders of magnitude difference. It definitely does make a difference, but not huge amounts of difference. It would give us the ability, say late in the day as the sun's going down on a hot day, if we orient the van the right way, we could tilt the panels, have them facing west, and catch more sun at the end of the day to run air conditioning or make sure the batteries are nicely topped up. The other advantage would be that first thing in the morning, if the batteries are a bit low, you could have the van oriented so that you can tilt the panels toward the east and catch the first rays and get some charge into the batteries first thing in the morning. More charge than you would if the panels were flat. Obviously the easier option would be to mount the panels flat on the roof, fixed, and move on. It'd be quicker and easier and cheaper to do that. So what do you think? Is it worth the effort or no? Chuck your ideas in the comments down below. Thanks. Well, that's going to be it for episode 7. Thanks for coming along. Feel free to comment, ask questions down below, and as always, remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you on episode 8, where hopefully we'll be working on mounting solar panels.